Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. This episode is part 2 in continuation of the conversation I had with Roy Wooten, where he speaks about his innovations of his concepts and instrument ideas and developments that he had. Here is Roy Wooten.
What I was saying, I was wondering, when you said he was showing you these concepts, did you record that lesson?
Oh, yes.
Man, I'd love to hear that, man.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I'm understanding what you're saying, because what I found out, a lot of times when I'm teaching, I receive more. They say that a teacher teaches what they most need to learn. So I'll be teaching something, and all of a sudden this download of a revelation comes just because I took time to try to, not just do it, but explain it. You know what I mean? To show, and all of a sudden these revelations come. So when you're telling me about Changuito, like I'm thinking of, I'm gonna see if this makes sense. All odd numbers are swinging. All odd numbers are related to the shuffle family. Now this is, I'm gonna just do an example of what I mean.
Okay.
So we take the number 3. That's the first odd number with substance. See what I'm saying? 1 is also an odd number, and all odd numbers are polarity. It's on this side and that side. So even when we hit the number 1, if it's dancing, it's not going up and down. It's going over here, then it's going over here. Her over here. And this is very profound, because that's what walking is. Right. Walking is 1 and 1, and it moves you forward.
Right.
But we can see that 1 and 1 is 2.
Right.
So the 2 odd numbers make our first even number. There's a profound relationship between odd and even right there. So now we get to the next odd number, which is 3. This is where you go to Venezuela, they're doing the maracas, and their downbeat is in the air. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Their relationship to 3 is like the universe, right? So when we get to 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. From the 3 to the 1, it skips to the 1. 3, 1, 2, D down, 2, 3, up, down, up. There's a polarity doing that. So now we're gonna jump to 5. So that 3 would do shuffle. If we don't get 2, we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And we get the shuffle where all music, da, 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 da. You know what I mean? The shuffle is a form that we know. The next shuffle is 5, but people don't know it yet. 5 is, if we don't play the middle, just like on a piano, if you don't play all the notes of the scale, you're going to get the triad.
Right.
So the triad of 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the 5 skips to the 1. Is that, am I losing? You following
Yeah,
me?
I'm following, yeah.
Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tick it, ding, ding. You hear all these rhymes doing. But when I speed it up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you hear the jazz shuffle comes out.
Of course.
Ding, ding, ding is the next shuffle. See what I'm saying? Like, it's so organic, man. Right? Yeah. And then 7 is the next step. I'm not going to get into it because I want to take up the interview with like nerdy stuff. But that 5 jazz shuffle, if you don't know anything else about ding, 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 you know it's supposed to swing.
Yeah.
And to find out that that's connected to the quintuplet. And what I hear with Changuito and all these Latin rhythms, they'll be singing da da do da do da da do da da boo da boo da da boo da da do da da, and they can feel that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. But and it just swings and lilts the way that it's trying to do all the time, Yeah. And it's just beautiful. So I hear Changuito pulling. I hear his innate relationship to these things, man. And these relationships are in the slow place of rhythm, where rhythm is slow, but it's speeding up to where the mathematics get perfect. You know what I mean? 5 next to 8. This is Fibonacci relationships that we're talking about. See what I mean? Fibonacci is where 1 and 1 makes 2. Right. 2 and 1 makes 3. That's a Fibonacci number. The first shuffle is a Fibonacci number. 3 and 2 makes 5. 5 and 3 makes 8. 5 and 8. 5 is the jazz that fits in the 8 of jazz. These are Fibonacci mathematical relationships that musicians are dealing with. in ways that we can dance with, but it's perfect mathematics, high.
Right.
It's
Right.
perfect. We divide eight. 5 goes into 8 so many times. 8 and 5 is 13. 8 goes into 13 so many times. And after a while, you're going to hit the number. The small number goes into the big number 1.618 times, which is the golden ratio. When we're playing jazz, we're talking golden ratio music here. The feeling to get it right. See what I mean? It's not mathematics like I'm talking right now. It's all about musicians that got the innate relationship to these things that make it swing and make your body sway, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so what you're telling me about Changuito, man, I've seen it already, man. They told me this dude was like, he's not even playing drums anymore. But if you saw him play, he was like Charlie Parker on the drums.
Oh, no, he was
So
incredible.
when I watch him, I just feel pulling like Kelvin, man.
Yeah.
He's pulling you with these tuplets. And it's just like, you know.
And
So anyway, man, I would love to sometime, you know, if there's a way I could even hear the lessons or meet Changuito. Because I did get a chance to meet Elva. It would just be an honor, man. Like, you know?
Well, it's not too late, but we'll talk more about that.
All
For
right.
sure.
Okay, cool.
But you know, the interesting thing is Roy, the whole three idea, the triplet, the binary ternary idea. I mean, some people get it wrong and say Afro-Cuban music. In Cuba, it's all Afro. It's not. Cuba is like a musical continent with all of these various lineages that have come into that country, which were not even close to knowing each other because of it's a very large island. So the Spaniards, the French, the Africans, all of these different influences there were totally independent, and there's no connection between them. Only later did they start saying, there's this. People in the mountains had no idea what the people in the city would be doing. Then you have the French society music, and you have the invention of timbales, for example. It's a descendant of timpani.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, timbales. The word timbales is the French word for timpani, timbal.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And they played it in society music, French society music, which then developed into the charanga, flutes and violins, and then the drums got smaller. They chopped the bottom and they would play on the sides. These are evolutions. I mean, like conga drums, they're called tumbadoras. They're not called conga. Conga is a rhythm that's played in the Oriente, which in the eastern part of the country. It's a rhythm. It's not an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have conga francesa. They have different variations of it, which are much more related to what we see in samba, the escola de samba in Brazil, and that's because the origins of those people is from Africa, the same place where they got the slaves. And they developed that music. The French Revolution in Haiti, a lot of those people went over to Cuba because it's almost across the street. I mean, there's a lot of history there. So when we say binary or ternary, and I divide that because the ternary is from Africa, things from Africa. It's always a variation of the three. It's not binary. It's a ternary idea. The binary is a European concept. So you have both in Cuba, and then when they start talking about the clave, now you have the rest of the world as either ternary clave, which is Africa, or binary clave, which is in Europe. In Cuba, you have both, but in different lineages, which would cross. So cha-cha-cha, for example, is a binary. And you have other forms that are ternary, like the Mozambique, for example, or the Congo rhythms. So it's a different world, but there they managed to bring it all together, invented the instruments, the bongo, the timbales, conga, or the tumbadoras, and which didn't have. I mean, had roots in other cultures, but they repurposed even the techniques. I mean, that whole thing, the mano secreta that
Yes.
Changuito talks about is
Yes.
that's only in Cuba. That's not even an African thing, because they play
Yeah.
djembes totally differently.
Yeah.
It's a
And I watched
different technique.
Giovanni press those things out. Like,
I mean, that's a whole
Yeah.
other discussion, but it's really interesting to see that when you're talking about in that whole dance thing, and it's all dance and music are
Yeah.
one and the same.
Yes.
In Africa,
Yes.
in most cultures, actually, traditionally. Except
Yes.
the Indian classical, of course, which was a higher classical music, or contemporary Western European music, based more on academic rather than the corporal moving or dance,
Yeah.
actual dance.
Yeah. 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 It's they've got the dance of number relationships.
Yes, but
The T highs and stuff, Yeah.
yeah, and so I wanted to just ask you because you did a lot of development and I find it fascinating with playing the Zen drum, and there are other guitar. What was that other instrument called?
Drum
Synth X or what was it called?
The Drumitar for drum guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting seeing somebody playing guitar like he's playing drums, and you do it so magnificently, and you really brought it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
I've got my own variation of that, but that's still as a drummer percussionist. I can't make up my mind, so I just have my hands and feet always involved because I can't make up my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool, using all the limbs to hit the melody. Yeah, but for me, it started off as a search to explore the rudiments with my fingers at a time where the technology is really not ready to try this. So the technology is just, when I did the first Flecktone records, the technology was just enough to try. By the time I got with the Flecktones, I had already been doing this, but the cymbals weren't even almost ready to try to do here.
Right.
So I had to use live cymbals and fingers together.
Right.
By the time I got with the Flecktones, I just made a challenge to see if I could find the whole drum set here. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to crawl first and just see, can I get it? And that's what I was doing with the Flecktones, just to see, can I play everything here? And it was an Alesis D something, a drum machine. Alesis
the
H,
DM, was it the DM
H something,
DM5?
But it was the first digital cymbal sample. And it was just one cymbal in there that I used it like a flat ride. It was clear, it was thin, and I sort of used it like a flat ride and blending it with a something from an Dynacord Ad 1. I had a Dynacord Ad 1, and it had an area kind of cymbal that wasn't good enough by itself. But when I used those two together, I could kind of get the air of Tony Williams, a ride. And I was just going between those two, smoke and mirrors. Neither one of them was good enough, but it was enough to get the record going. So even when I listen back to those records, man, it's like, wow, I didn't have enough, but it was enough to get started. And then along the way, the samples keep getting better until now I'm playing my own samples that I actually hit the drums, I actually hit the cymbals, and I'm playing those samples.
Nice.
And I have access to all these different other samples to blend in too. But like with the cymbals, I did a library for Superior Drummer, Easy Drummer. The company's called Tune Tracks, and we did a library. When it came out, it was called the Jazz Library. Now it's called the Roots Library because they released when I'm hitting the drums with blast sticks and everything. So it's called the Roots Library now, and I'm using that library, and it's something about playing samples that you actually hit, because I spent a lot of time down in the soft volumes. They said I hit the drums more than anybody else because I played the samples. So down soft, where that Curtis Mayfield softness is where all that rich tone is. So I spent a lot of time down there. So when I would do the samples, I would really, hit and keep going. And when you do cymbals, it takes time because you got to wait for them to finish ringing before you do the next one. You know what I mean? So you just have all of these samples in your dynamic reach. And so a lot of maybe the last 5 or 6 Flecktones records that we did in our lineage, I'm going between live cymbals and sample cymbals. You can't really tell the difference. I have to listen to see, what was I doing. The samples have just gotten a lot better.
Right, right.
And we're still evolving with it. I'm working on a brand new controller now, which is going to merge everything that I've learned. It's like everything that I've learned from doing. Hang on just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I've learned from melody when I'm doing this instrument right here. Are you able to see that?
Yes, that's good.
Right. The keyboard thing. Well, each one of these are like drum pads, but it's laid out in a harmonic grid. And you were talking about rhythm and frequencies. What I have named on these pads are the elements of the periodic table. And I have them in a 12 chromatic color spectrum. So, whatever's the same color in chromaticism is the same note at a different octave and stuff like that. So anyway, there's circuit boards. That's my first keyboard. This is my second one. I'm starting to layer the stuff. I'm taking these 6 rows and squeezing them on top of each other like a typewriter. So they're going down rainbow style.
Okay.
And there's custom circuit boards inside that were made custom for me to make these things work. Now, where I am now is taking this. You'll notice this right here is not much wider than a guitar neck. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's not much wider than a guitar neck. So now we come to this instrument, which is taking everything that I've learned. This is my new controller that I'm working on, right? And I'm taking all the ridges. All these dots or pads are going to go there, just like all the pads that are going over there. And I've got it squeezed in here and squeezed in here because whatever I have for my right hand, I want the counterpart in my left hand. So when I'm approaching melody, I have a right hand. Like if this is a C, then a C is going to be over here too that I can reach with my left hand to go back and forth. Right. And so this is just a ongoing journey of, well, when Miles Davis said the melody will be found again through the rhythm of the drums. He said the drums and the bass, but as far as my niche, I'm really looking at through the drums. But I don't want to short that statement that Miles made, because when you think about the bass, a lot of tunes, it by the bass part. Doom, 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 doom. That's more important than the tune. The bass is the melody. What's his name? Do 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 money. The bass player that made that up. You know what I mean? Like the bass parts. Do 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 do. And that's what hip hop is building off, that bass melody. Those bass melodies are more important than the tune. Right. So I'm just always marveling how Miles Davis would say something that seems outrageous, but it would be just so on the money. But as far as me, what I was just showing you is my journey since I was a kid. I saw Curtis Mayfield's conga player playing melody on every solo with that plastic rototom. The plastic rototoms were flat, so you could hit them without scraping your hand on the rim, and they had the tone, that tone mixed with the bongos. And that's what you hear when you hear Curtis Mayfield and you hear Superfly and you hear that conga melody.
Interesting.
They would just let him take a solo and just back up and let him take the stage, and it would be melodic. He would be pulling you off your chair melodically, rhythmically. Bug got me. I'm still on that. See what I mean? Yeah. And so the way that I'm approaching my notes is part timpani. Like if you look at my acoustic drum set, my bass drum is not facing forward. It's facing up like a timpani.
Right.
Right. And I got Fleischmann pedals like Will Calhoun likes to use. Modified. So instead of the pedal pulling from the chain, pulling forward, the chain sits on the back of the sprocket. We pull the pedal down. And when I go down, it pulls the pedal up to hit the bottom of the drum.
Right.
So now I'm attacking the bass drum from the bottom and the top, like a timpani or like taiko. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, when now the bass drum is like sitting next to the snare drum, usually has all the fun. The snare drum is in the toms. But now that bass drum is just sitting in there like it's ready to pop, you know? And I'm just waiting to see what these people with the feet are going to do. The drum set is a beautiful instrument, man, because it's so young, right? So just the other day, I saw a clinic. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but I got his information because I filmed his clinic, and it was only his second clinic. And he would say, "Yeah, man, I'd love to see what I did." You know what I mean? It was a great clinic, but man, he showed something that when you said Giovanni using that motion like that.
Yeah.
Well, when you see Spanish dancing and their feet are doing that, and they go back this way. And you're seeing people on the bass drum pedals use these techniques. So this guy did a technique where he had a line on his pedal so he knew where to aim his heel. But he would aim his heel and it would just blah, blah. It would do a double. And so he would go blah, 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 blah. And he's basically like Buddy Rich in his feet, man. It's like, in a million years, I never would think that you would get that kind of dexterity out of your feet on the bass drum.
Sure.
And he said there's people doing it other ways too. They're doing it this way too.
Yeah.
Doing it from the toe to the heel. In 2 feet. And they're getting that going.
Well, it's like tap dancing.
Yeah. Huh?
Tap dancing.
Like tap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you see Giovanni do it with his hand, whoa. You know what I mean? It's like,
but Giovanni studied with Changuito. Changuito was his teacher.
I know. There's the mentor and there's the Jedi or the Sith.
The Jedi.
Oh. His student is a Sith, man. But here's the teacher that gave him the jewels. You see what I'm saying? And he took his jewels and he did something with it.
Totally.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to whatever one has to use it to inspire and push everything forward to make things work and to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm convinced that, it's the arts is the big missing piece because we're in a society that prides itself in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And you have schools, STEM, they call that STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And there's no arts. You got to have the arts. All the ancient societies studied the arts as a fundamental part of the pillars of education. And we're leaving that out.
Oh, yes.
You can't leave it out, man. See, the arts is what moves the world around. And at the end of the day, who do we remember? We remember the artist. Right. So this one question I always ask my audience, these little kids, it doesn't matter how young the kids are. I ask, how many people have heard of Mozart? All the hands go. It doesn't matter how young. How many of you have heard of Beethoven? They remember the artist. Now, then I ask the question, how many people know who the president was? Who was the king? Who was the leader during Mozart's time? No hands go up. See what I'm saying? On the scale of significance and resonance and memory so long from that time, the arts wins the day. During that time, right now, you don't even know where Mozart was buried because he wasn't getting the respect of how heavy what he was laying on. See what I'm saying? Sure. But the arts is what's helping to shape the world. It's the arts moving thing. If there's racism and stuff, the arts is leveling that playing field through the arts. The arts is showing people culture. It's the arts speaking a universal language that resonates. Like you were saying, there's people in the mountains playing stuff that they didn't even hear these people playing. But it's like the 100th monkey where they taught a few of these animals how to wash their sweet potatoes. And after a certain number, they're doing it on all the different islands. And they haven't even connected. Yeah. In music, you hit the notes on the piano and it's resonance. What we're doing in the arts is resonating, man.
Yeah. And there's a famous quote that said, and I remember reading this, I can't remember where, but could be anonymous. No civilization was ever known for its balancing the books. Right. The civilization was known by what they left behind as art, culture.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that because it reminds me of a myth that I read in somebody's book. But they told about a myth that the tuning, where people tune, like right now we tune at A440, but we used to tune to A430 and different things. But that tuning note in ancient Chinese myth was a note that was brought down from an angel or some emissary from on high. and this is what you're supposed to tune to. And they said that the king's uh, emissaries could go to the villages and see how out of tune they were to the
Ha.
kung, and they call that tuning of the kung, like kung fu. They call it the kung, and however much out of tune they were to the kung was how out of tune their society was going to be. They said they
Wow.
didn't even have to check the books. They just knew however far out of tune the rest of their society was going to be out of tune like that.
Interesting.
So that's what reminded me of when you said that, how important the arts are, man,
Sure.
to this thing. And like now we're in a society, we don't really think about why we tune where we tune. We just tune and keep going. But the arts is part of science, man.
Sure. Sure.
And what we're doing, like Beethoven said, it's good to delve into it until the art and music starts whispering its secrets to you.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
when you talk about Changuito, there's music that's whispered stuff to him. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be educated on paper, but it's like he's got a direct link,
Sure. Sure.
a direct link
Yeah.
to something that's
I mean, there's this,
grand.
with the Western society. I mean, there was the mathematics of it, like Pythagoras, that actually was he who figured
Yes.
out, who divided the octave, who actually the notes that we know today, A, B, C, D, F, G, are all his doing. The octave is halfway. He did all those measurements. It's Pythagoras, the mathematician,
Right.
who figured all that
Right.
out.
But
We're
you know
still
how
using.
long you know how long he studied in Egypt to get that? It was over 15, 20 something years that he studied over there to bring that back to his society. In Africa, I think it was the Library of Alexandria.
Hmm.
He went back there to learn this stuff. So
Interesting.
this is great what you're saying, because this is what's left out of our STEM programs. See what I mean? They
Yeah,
ain't thinking about the
absolutely.
arts, but the ancient society understood that arts are a pillar,
Sure.
a pillar of understanding. How mathematics and frequencies is not just numbers, man. These are quantities, qualities, frequencies, and
Frequencies. Yeah.
realities and alchemies. See what I mean? It's like, this is crazy. Like chemistry is the child of alchemy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Astronomy
Yeah.
is the child of astrology, stuff we don't even believe in anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like the artist is the one that's pulling all of this together, pulling together the mysteries and the symmetries of how this thing relates. And the beautiful thing about art is you don't have to explain anything.
Yeah.
See, science, you got to explain stuff. Einstein talking about E equals MC squares. Like, can I feel that? That's
Yeah.
like, but Mozart's writing about Jupiter and the Jupiter Symphony and stuff. And then you just listen to the music. He hasn't explained anything yet.
Yeah.
If you want to explain it, he can explain his cadences and why he's moving like this. But you don't have to explain it. It goes right into the heart. And
Yeah.
even animals can feel it.
And
We see
another
video. Yes.
yeah, another interesting thing is, and I'm sure you've thought about this. It blows my mind all the time how we move people by a melody, by the music. They're sad,
Yes.
they're happy. How we feel, and how we can make people feel with certain notes, certain melodies that we create, or certain
Yes.
grooves, or that, and
Yeah.
it speaks to everybody at the same level. Everybody understands the same
Yeah.
thing. There's no opposites.
Yes.
There's no discussion.
Yeah.
It's you like
Right.
it or you don't.
Yeah,
That's all.
with
That's
that
it.
statement you made to me, that's such a beautiful statement, because how we can make people feel is how we can make things heal too. Because sometimes I think, like in Star Wars, you look at the news, the politics, new administration, this and that, and everybody's trying so hard, and there's a disruptive energy. And in Star Wars, they said there's a great disturbance in the force. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like the musicians can bring a soundtrack to the situation that can help, like they said, music would soothe the savage beast. You know what I mean? There's something about the musician that can help to bring levity to the soundtrack of
Sure.
events going on. And I think that's where the artists step up the most when they need it the most.
Sure.
It's when we have like this little chaotic situation where men wanting to lead and change and do things and be in charge and
And
maybe overstep
and
boundaries or
and
something.
it's usually because they've missed, what you and I both experience, what we have as our lives. They've missed all of that totally, which that's
Yeah.
the result, because that part is missing. you know,
Yeah, yeah, and it's something. It was somebody famous
without
was
going
saying
into
people a lot of
politics,
times
but
don't remember all the details. They remember how you made them feel. And so when you mention how music makes people feel, and I like how the word feel rhymes with heal. You know, the music makes people heal too. And that's what we're leaving people with, that taste of something that's like, okay, instead of leading with my blade in Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian healing art form, said Ho'oponopono is just trying to get you to just let go for a minute and open your bald fist. You know what I mean? And you don't have to lead with your dragon all the time. You know, you can lead with, oh, okay, this person is a little off because of all of these things that happened before. And so let me try to bring some levity to the situation rather than because I'm right now. Let me just come with the dragon. I'm just going to burn you out, you know, which
yeah,
I have the right to do because I've been wrong. But there's more to this moment. And sometimes the artist is going to bring levity to the
sure,
situation. You know what I mean? Let's
absolutely,
just
yeah.
sit for a minute and take a breath. You know what I mean? You're the leader of the world. You got more on your shoulders than you're prepared for. You know, you're stressed
Yes,
out. You know what I mean?
of
You're
course, of
stressed
course,
out,
of
man.
course.
You got just let's just breathe for a minute.
And
You know, you're
neutralize,
trying
and
to save the world, huh?
yeah, and music. I mean, arts in general are the great music in particular, the great neutralizer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And there it is where STEAM programs have to be the way of the future. It can't just be STEM and be stunted. You know what I mean? STEAM is all the way the next phase where we got to go, particularly as we move into the age of AI, where
oh,
people having AI do stuff and humans are beyond that. You know, like there's things that humans can do. Humans don't even fully know what they're capable of yet.
that,
See what I mean? I look at humans to say it in a short way. It's like we're still caterpillars and we see ourselves as caterpillars. And the head caterpillars want to preserve the caterpillar body. Like Kurzweil, he wants to make the caterpillar body extend for forever. Or they want to live to be immortal. And we're still a caterpillar. You don't even know the butterfly yet. Well, what we are as people and humans is something way beyond our caterpillar potential where we are now, where we think we can just have wars, kill each other. We got diseases. We got, you know, just turn on the news and you'll see another variation of
of course.
caterpillar mentality where we just don't see the whole picture. But we're really something as profound as butterflies. We don't know it yet. So all we know is let's just preserve the caterpillar body. Let's Walt Disney freeze cryogenic the caterpillar head until we can figure out how to make another caterpillar body. It's like, dudes, man, you guys are probably off the whole point, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And it's only art that can make you try to feel what I'm trying to say. I can't even say what I'm trying to say really good. But the head caterpillars, the richest caterpillars, these Elon Musk people want to go and neural link your brain and stuff. You don't even know what the brain is capable of yet. You don't even know what the pineal gland is for. It can see without seeing with eyes. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
you have no
yeah,
idea. You know what I'm saying? So when you see somebody like Che Guito and musicians and stuff, we're tapping into that primal thing that's beyond Neuralink. It's beyond, you know, the Kurzweils wanting to extend the body life of the caterpillar.
right.
See what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
You got people that can see with our eyes, that can taste music when they hear it. What is that called? You know what I mean? They see
yeah,
colors when you hit notes. What is that called? See what I mean?
yeah,
This is rhythm and frequency on visual and taste levels. It's
yeah.
like,
That's
where
interesting.
does you know what I mean? Like the human is something profound, man. You know, it's really profound, you know, when we talk about the arts. And
Yep,
there's the big blind spot in all STEM programs, in all societies, a lot of times that want to move forward with war and stuff to do everything.
sure.
But I
Yeah,
think
and
there's promise of where we are now. It's great promise. You know, I see little things, man. I look at these drummers, man. You look at these musicians that are watching YouTube and they're playing way beyond their years. All they need is now to learn how to tell a story a lot of times
sure.
with a beginning, middle, and end instead of just, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know, tell a story with a beginning, a middle, and end. When you go to a movie, you don't want to see the ending of the movie in the beginning. You know, you want to be led through the story. So
right,
this
right.
is like the Tony Williams, who I call the Shakespeare of the drums, man. When I heard Nefertiti, man, storytelling is so beautiful, you know. And I
Yeah,
think when I see the young people now, they're just grasping these techniques and they're playing techniques that's beyond their storyline. We got to pull it into your story and let you let you grow out into it. So that story means something, not just, boom, I'm just going to splat every space that I get a chance,
Yeah. But usually
But I'm inspired. I'm just so inspired by all these players,
yeah.
man. All these players that are out there, these Ronald Bruner type players. Sometimes, your young players can get wild. They can get reckless, maybe get bad habits, getting into trouble, youth wasted on youth, you know what I mean? But they're just so good. They're better than they know. I'll just say it like these young players are better than they know. Yeah.
And then you have the maturity thing kick in at some point, and then that sets a whole other stage. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good what you're saying, because in sports, players have coaches, but in music, you're just sort of on your own.
Right.
And music, still, these people need mentors, man. And some kind of way, it's not a part of the ritual. Like in athletes, you just know you're going to have a coach. It's part of the ritual of it. See, even Michael Jordan, he's got a coach that he can believe in, that can meet him at his level and say something to him to guide him. Look, man, you can do it by yourself, but you got to get your team involved. See what I'm saying? You got to pull them in. So in music, it's like that too. Look, you can drum, you can take over the show, but you got to make everybody else sound good, not just yourself.
Sure.
That's just a concept, because most people are playing to pass the audition, and I'm going to sound good. But it's like, now let's have an audition to see how good you can make these other players sound, who are maybe not up to your level. You're not always going to play with people who are up to the level that you might choose, but you can make them sound good too.
Very well said. Yeah.
Story thing, story time, storytelling. You know what I mean? And when I see all these gospel chops, man, it's just so beautiful. But now you want to have the storytelling ability of Philly Joe Jones, the storytelling ability of Tony Williams, who's telling a story with them Swiss triplets. He's just telling a story, man.
Yeah.
And you want to tell a story and not get to the end of the story too fast. Like, take us there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it has to do with the hero's journey and storytelling. The only way I'm saying all this to say mentorship and finding the right mentor can help bring it out. See what I'm saying? Because like I met a kid when we were doing a workshop with Jeff Coffin, saxophone player, man. The dude sound like Wayne Shorter. I said, man, have you heard of Wayne Shorter? He says, no. I said, well, you need to go Google him because you sound like him. And every time I see him, we talk about it, he said, I've never forgot that. A mentor can see something in you that you don't know.
That's right.
Like you're doing something, you don't know how great it is. And a mentor can say, what you're doing is great. Don't take it for granted what you're doing. You sound like Wayne Shorter already. You need to know who this guy is.
Yeah.
See, the mentor is going to bring you vegetables when you're eating cotton candy. You eat cotton candy, man, you ain't going to be around for long. Right. You know what I mean? So you got to add some vegetables to your red regime, Yeah. That's mentorship. That's going to show you how to become from good to great, and from great to like super gold, Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Learning about these changuitos, learning about the secrets that they have, to me, that's a big thing in the arts, because arts, you just left on your own, all of a sudden your skills are out there. You got a gig, you're making money, and you're out of control. You know what I mean? Like you don't know how to handle all of this freedom and stuff. And you just bumping in the wall, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And a mentor, almost like the Hunger Games, you're out there playing the game and there's traps everywhere. A mentor's going to say, look, be careful right here. Be careful right here. Your light is bright. What does a light do? It attracts gnats and bugs. You're a great attractor right now. And everybody you're attracted might not be for your best, steps going forward. So mentorship is a big thing for the arts, I think.
Yeah.
That can become part of the ritual.
You brought up a really, really good point, and I'm going to remember this because I'm working on something, and bringing the word mentorship into that context that you're talking about is absolutely perfect, because at some point what that mentor becomes for those of us who have careers and have built, then it becomes your manager, who may be the right person on certain levels, but not on the artistic level necessarily. So
right,
and you're right. It's missing often because then we were studying with someone who is our mentor, and then we possibly past them in many ways, but the maturity that's where it comes from. But you no
Yeah.
longer they're not around your sphere or anymore because you're somewhere else. But
Yeah.
in sports, that person is very important because it keeps you in that line and going and moving in a straight line and
Yes.
forward.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely
Yep.
right.
Yep.
It's making me.
Yeah. I think about Mike Tyson, how he got to be champion so young. He had Cuss telling him, dude, you can be the youngest champion in history. Cuss saw it in him and held him straight. And as long as
Yeah,
Cuss was alive, he was straight. Then Cuss died, and he was like, whoa,
yeah,
where's my mentor? Same thing with George Lucas in Star Wars. His mentor was Joseph Campbell, the guy
okay,
who taught Hero with 1,000 Faces, the power. He's the mythologist guy. His best student was George Lucas, who wrote Star Wars. When
right.
he died, his movies went like, oh, he doesn't quite, they're good, but he's not on it like he was in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so that mentor thing is really powerful. And the mentor is the person that maybe can push you to be excellent. Like I remember I was telling a kid, I heard the kid relying on auto-tune to sing. And I hear that nasally auto-tune. I was like, dude, man, I know you can hit that note. And when you use auto-tune to do it, I don't feel the note anymore. It's perfect, but it's like you don't feel nothing.
yeah.
I said, look at auto-tune. In the history of auto-tune, is there anything in auto-tune that has got close to Aretha Franklin? Has it got close to Stevie Wonder? Has it got close to Al Green? Has it got close to Whitney Houston, who was the new school, old school, singing it? She's singing the national anthem, and they play that on the soul radio. See what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
with all this technology, it doesn't hold a candle to these singers that I'm talking about. Mavis Staples. You know what I mean? They're singing from the soul. You don't lean on auto-tune to do it for you.
Yeah,
See
yeah,
what I'm saying? This is mentorship, where it's going to push you, where you're going to lean back, They say, look, man, we're going to go through the airport. We're going to go early, so we're not going to walk on the escalator so we get a workout. The mentors will push you like that. Tell you about vegetables that you don't know about. Tell you about herbs you never heard of. That the herbs are for the healing of the nations. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if this gives you an edge, we're going to go that way. Where
yeah,
a lot of our mentors, like Charlie Parker, Coltrane, they're dying of abuse because society was hard, man. They're trying to dislocate from the scene that's going on. So they're drugging
right.
out this kind of stuff. But I think we're on the cutting edge of like super humanities, man. Like we're on the other side of that curve where we're not trying to destroy our potential. We got to look at what's being put in the foods. You know what I mean? You got to be discerning, man. You just get that bag of chips and read the ingredients. I was just learning about McDonald's French fries. Dude, man, they pull these potatoes that are made long, and they said they gotta wear almost chemical gear to pick the things, and then they put them in a room so that they off gas all the chemicals before they can work with them. It's like this is mentorship. See what I mean? On another level. Because the reason why I'm saying I feel like this is so fundamental is because art is a longevity thing.
Yeah,
Sports is not a longevity thing. It's your window is short.
yeah, yeah,
But in arts, you look at Carter Beauford, the Y in the road. He chose music over football. Carter said, man, my football career would have been over so long ago, and I probably couldn't even walk by now.
yeah.
But he made a different choice. And he's getting ready to play the New Orleans Jazz Fest. Before that, they just recently played Madison Square Garden for like 4 nights in a row. To see your friends do that is inspiring.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, yeah.
But this is what the arts can do. Your little song that you're going to write. So a lot of times when I'm talking like this, I just tell people, when you watch the news and all that, it's so distracting. It's so disturbing. Don't let it forget the song and the music and the stuff that you're putting together. At the end of the day, people are going to remember the arts, man. People are celebrating Mozart every year, every single year. And every once in a while, when I ask the audience who remembers Mozart, there'll be a professor that knows who the king was. I said, well, who is celebrating that king's birthday this year? You know what I mean? Who knows anything that king said? No, you have no idea what the king did. But every year, right now, somebody's playing Mozart's music and celebrating his birthday every year. The arts wins, man.
Yeah.
The arts is on a whole nother level, and leaders and societies don't know it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Our leading
absolutely.
programs, STEM programs, don't know it. They leave the arts out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you talked about Pythagoras, man. He went to Egypt to learn that, to bring that art back, to learn how to do the tunings. He studied music, 30 years, 15 years, not to be a professional musician.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. It's just crazy how important the arts are into what we're doing.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways we can learn, you know, the two tetrachords that make up the major scale. Ho, 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 half, tetra. Ho, 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 half. Do, re, mi, fa, half. Sol, la, ti, do. Two tetrachords making up this thing. And what that has to do with reality and rhythm. See what I'm saying? If you go ho, 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 half, and ho, 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 half, and play that rhythm, what do we get? If whole is a quarter note and half is an eighth note, it'll go ho, 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 half, ho, half, do, ho, half, ho, do, 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 do. You hear them rhythms they're playing in South America are establishing this major scale relationship. See what I'm saying? In the rhythm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they got it like it's in their bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're establishing something fundamental. Do 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 ho ho ha ho 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 ha ho ho. This is so deep, man. You know what I mean?
Is it so? I mean, it's interesting.
It's a good journey. It's a good journey.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is so
did
interesting.
You follow that? What I just?
Yeah.
That cool?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, rhythm being that mother thing. You know, yeah. So that's the journey I'm on, you know, and you know, because I'm experimenting with the drums here, it makes me see the drum set new again. So like even when I'm playing the drums, my drums, I'm playing these Schleichman drums. I just like the Schleichman drums because they're the one drum set that doesn't drill into the shell to attach the top and the bottom.
Right.
They have a wire that connects the top and bottom and tightens it top to bottom. You know, it's different, but I like the integrity of the shell. So the shell still has to breathe. So I have F holes cut into my shells, like violins.
Right.
To breathe. I have 2 F holes cut in all of my shells, which allows us to mic the shell, not just from the top or the bottom, but from the F hole as well. So if you see us play, you'll see the acoustic bass drum that has a mic on one of the F holes and a mic on the top. Sometimes engineers in the studio, they like to mic the F hole and mic it from the bottom. There's variations. And I've been in the studio where they mic both F holes and then they would put them out of phase and make the drum fill sound like it's outside of the speakers. But that allows us to listen to the drum in a way that we never listened to it before, because you're listening from the inside, not just the top or the bottom.
Right.
But you put your ear next to that F hole and it has like you're inside the drum. To pull the bass drum from forward up like a timpani is because when I used to play drum set, I always see Buddy Rich. I'm trying to play that head, and it's too close here, and I can't reach it over there. So I'm always like, oh man, I want to be able to play that head. And Michael Turner, who had a company called Mother Tone, who distributed Schleichman drums here, he heard me complaining about it, and he just took my bass. He just took the bass drum he was making for me and put the 2 forward lugs. He just put them straight down, put the drum on his side, and it was almost there. All he had to do was add one more leg, and there it is sitting on his side. So now I can get to the top and the bottom. Long story short, now the bass drum's sitting right next. It's the black hole sitting next to the white hole. The snare drum's the white hole, popping, baking, ka-la. Buddy Rich he can just stay there. Now you can do that with the bass drum. Pop rim shots. You can prepare the bass drum head too. You can put different surfaces on there.
Right.
And do some stuff. But for me, when I'm doing that, it's just because I see the drum set is a play field that's still being discovered. So like the hi-hat cymbal that you play with your foot used to be called the low boy.
Right.
It was like to get the cymbals of the drums, you use your foot, you get the cymbals. But somebody said, well, if I raise it up, I can still do that and I can play the top. That's how I'm thinking of the bass drum. We can play the bottom and the top. And when you get these bass drummers they're doing press rolls almost with bass drum pedals using these dance techniques. They don't even know it's dance techniques. The guy who I just saw do the clinic called it a parlor trick. But I was like, I'm going to show him. I'm like, this is that foot technique. that they're showing when they show Spanish dancing. What do they call it? Flamenco dancing.
Flamenco, right.
And they show the beginning videos. And they go, pop, pop, you know, and then they bring their foot the other way. Pop, pop, you know, pop, pop. And then you do the triplet on the other one. Pop, pop, and the foot's already, they're already rumbling. And so these drummers are starting to learn these with the bass drum pedal. And it's just, it's so beautiful to see the evolution of this instrument. And so for me, I'm just sort of in that journey that the instrument is new. The drum set is an American amalgamation of the whole parade drum thing, where one person was going to have the whole parade in their body, in their feet. And then it's so beautiful because when you see like Horacio, you mentioned, who's the guy that did Birdman? I just mentioned his
Antonio
name.
Sanchez.
Antonio Sanchez. And they got the clave in the left foot while they're doing all this other stuff. Yeah. And the groove is like the dance thing is there. This is very important because I've heard German drummers do it too, where they got the clave in the left foot. And dance is nowhere in the building. You know what I mean? But ain't nobody getting ready to dance to that. See what I mean? Yeah. See, dance is an essence that's getting into Fibonacci, where the universe is dancing, man. When you hear my man Horacio, he's pulling like Changuito a little bit and got the clave anchoring the thing down. It's just like, dude, it's a beautiful journey to be on. Just when you thought you heard it all, it's like, oh man,
oh man,
wow, we're still at the beginning, man. And that's what's beautiful, you know. So I tip my hats because all these guys are inspiring me. It's so inspiring. The way that I was inspired by Tony Williams, I'm inspired by these young guys, you know. I recently heard Ronald Bruner. He's just playing up tempo, popping like 4 and more Tony Williams. And when he was younger and more calm headed, more level headed, I would talk to him. He said, yeah, he's coming through Tony through Jimmy Cobb. So he's really not doing Tony so much as he is Jimmy Cobb. Jimmy Cobb is the one Tony Williams coming out of, and he's in Jimmy Hunt. But he's like got that jazz thing, man. And it's like, it's so inspiring. And to me, it's like, I don't even know if he knows how great he is. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, he's playing like that. When I saw him play, I saw him playing with Kenny Garrett, and it was a jazz group gig where it's all up tempo, like 4 and more. So I thought he was a jazz cat, and he is. But then I saw him doing the Dennis Chambers gospel shop side. I was like, whoa, this dude's on both sides of the tracks, man. And it's pure on both sides, you know, playing clear Billy Cobham 5s drum set. He knows about Billy Cobham. And I was like, dude, man, you're more important than you even know. If you knew how important you are, I wouldn't be hearing about these antics that I'm hearing, you know, about you. I'm hearing more about your antics than I'm hearing about your playing. See what I mean? Yeah. Now we're talking mentorship. Right. We got Jedi that are, you know, we taught them some Kung Fu, and they don't know that you're not supposed to get in a fight with Kung Fu. You know, Kung Fu is about healing. If you have to, you let the person know it's not in their best interest to go into blows with you, you know, but it's not to take that person's head off. It's not about these antics, you know. So I guess I'm saying that. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But what I'm saying is I think mentorship is very important because these young players, sometimes they're greater than they know they are. Yeah. And with that, you know, I'm sending a tip of respect to Ronald Bruner, who's one of my favorite drummers right now. Because he's assimilated this stuff from the jazz world, and he's assimilated the stuff from the gospel chops, stuff that's come out of Billy Cobham through Dennis Chambers, through playing the drums on an acrobatic level. You know what I mean? He's assimilated this thing in such a powerful way. And he's done a record where he's singing. I haven't even heard a singing record. Dude is talented, man. And it's like, you guys don't know that you're the leaders of the world, man. You got somebody like Magic Johnson playing basketball, right? Out of college. This dude is having so much fun playing basketball. When you gave 5, you know, give me 5. It was all low. Yeah, give me 5. On the backside, it's all low. Magic came in college. When he would do the alley-oop play, they look like they're getting in a fight. They're high-fiving, something that you've never seen before. Now the whole world does it. In every sport, in every country, in every business. from a basketball player. See what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
eating the world, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're that good, it's like you need a mentor that holds you in, man. You know what I mean? Because you can get crazy with your money, you can get crazy with your antics. And I would rather not be hearing about your antics than about hearing what is your next project. What are you playing? Because your potential is like,
Sure.
you see
Yeah.
what I mean? These young players have an advantage, man, because you got YouTube. You don't even have to, I don't, like I had to go to meet Alan Dawson to get him to show me what he was showing Tony Williams. See what I mean?
Yeah.
But now people just can go to YouTube and get it.
Yeah. No,
And
no,
so
it's
they're like, they're taking leaps and bounds. And they shouldn't take that for granted, man. So that's why I'm just saying a mentor, if somebody can help you to tell your story, you know what I mean? Like, don't give the movie away in the first scene. The movie is holding back, you know, to lead you into your discovery of the art, you know. And so I just think mentorship is a very important thing. But just to tell these young people how good they are, you know, I remember Thomas Pridgen when he was a little kid
right.
coming to all the NAMM shows, and his grandmother, his mom, right there. You know what I mean? He couldn't get there by himself. He couldn't drive himself, but there she was. That was his ally right there. And now he's in bands. He's winning Grammy Awards and stuff. It's beautiful to see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. We're inspired. These guys are inspiring us now.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
no, it's
And a lot of times they're greater than they know they are.
yeah, and it's an
So
evolving
that's
thing, and yeah, and it's a really evolving thing, and then everybody is in the same world. I mean, we share and we learn something new, and
yes.
you know, we're showing each other, and yeah, and it's
Yeah.
also
Yes.
great.
I tip my hat off to, you know, your school, you know, you're building your commitment to paying it forward and stuff, you know. And I'd like to be a student because I want to hear what Changuito was trying to say. I want Changuito to rub off me because, like, I got a chance to meet Elvin, and he hits me like that, like a Elvin, and they described him as a Charlie Parker on the drums.
Right.
Somebody, when I first heard his name, they said, "Have you heard of Changuito?" They said, "Man, you got to hear this guy, man. He was like Bird on the drum set, and he doesn't even play drum set anymore."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So when I heard him, I heard that Elvin thing, and it's like, whoa, you know. And then Giovanni, when they did that video, Kunga Masters, I watched them go for an hour before they even said anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody does that in a teaching video, and you just heard them communicate, man.
Yeah.
Deep.
Very deep.
Yeah. So Changuito's a big one, man. If I get a chance, if I some kind of way can get a chance to meet, I've never been to Cuba, and is that where he is?
Yes, in Havana.
Man,
yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing these trips for over 20 years now, and I mean, I'm in deep over there, that's for sure. And I know everyone, and we've done a lot of work, cultural bridges that we've been building all these years. It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me know when your next one's coming, man. I'm gonna try to make it, man.
Every year.
Yeah.
I'll give you more.
And how good the musicians are. See what I mean? Again, they're close to the dirt, man. It's like, they're close to the essence, man.
Well, music is an important pillar in that society. Always has been, which makes the difference. Was what you were talking about is one of those elements.
Yeah, you hear musicians that come out of there. Who's the trumpet player that recently got a Kennedy Awards thing?
Was that Arturo Sandoval?
And I think, you know what I mean? You hear that fire, man.
Oh yeah.
Everybody coming out of there, coming out with like, whoa, Horacio, what is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And there's a reason for it. And the reason is that, just like education is a pillar, healthcare is a pillar, culture is a pillar, equal to the others. And that's what's missing in most Western societies.
Yes.
And that's why you see places like that, which don't really have the means, but it's just important in the society. Therefore, it works.
They make it happen.
That's it.
Yeah, it's that love. Like when we were kids, we didn't have instruments, so I beat on boxes.
That's
you make horn out of a soda straw, bite down on the straw, and it makes a reed. And then you come home and cut holes in it and it makes notes. You find a way.
That's right. Yeah.
That kind of thing. And a tour with the Flecktones in Asia where the guy had a leaf and he could play melodies with a leaf.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, man.
It's imagination, creativity.
which Einstein said was more important than knowledge.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Imagination.
I wanted to really thank you for taking the time. I mean, there's a lot of great conversation, a lot of great ideas that you've even inspired me, and a couple of things that I had not really put in center stage for myself, which now you did, and I want to thank you, man.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Man. And and just leaving, I love, if we do a part 2, I want to show you how I started thinking about the triplet coming out of Elvin Jones and all the African drummers, and how, I would take a triplet, like a right, left, right, left, not a bop, right, left, bop, but a asymmetrical triplet. This is the tertiary thing, right, where I got 1 and then 2. And
Right.
when you do that and you count a different number other than 3, it's going to take you through 3 phases if you don't change the pattern. So if I go triple, and I count 5, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
And stick control that gives me the 1. So I have to accent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Accent 2, 3, 4, 5. Accent 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got an accent on the second bounce and an accent on the downbeat. That gives you the pop, pop. It gives you that pop, 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 and when I get back to the 1, my right hand 2, 3 has done 5 over 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. See that 5 in my right hand? 3, boom. So this is a quintuplet Elvin style. Boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, boom, This is a relationship to the triplet. I call it splitting the triplet.
Nice.
We're Elvinizing that triplet, with the feeling of stuff. And this is I'm just going to leave this as a foreshadow to what I'm building on. And this is very Elvin. That's why I say Elvin has never left anything that I'm doing. And Changuito is plugged into this Elvin thing for me, because they feel these quintuplets and septuplets in a way that's so organic that you can dance to them. You don't even know it's happening.
Yes.
But you feel it pulling on you.
So let's make sure we do a part 2 specifically on that. Now you've aroused my curiosity. I want to see this explained, and this will be great. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Secrets on that right there. That's like,
Right.
We'll have a part 2. Yeah,
absolutely,
right.
And it'll be my pleasure. But in the meantime, as I always say, and especially in going to part 2, to be continued.